In this video, I'm going to show you how to synthesize phthalic acid from vinyl gloves. First, you want to get about 4 vinyl gloves and cut it up into small pieces using scissors. In this case, I just decided to pull it apart since it was easy enough. I added this into a round bottom flask, and as you can see, it's around full. To this, I measured 50 milliliters of isopropyl alcohol and I added it into the round bottom flask, about enough to cover the gloves. I set the apparatus up for reflux in order to extract as much of the plasticizer from the gloves as possible. So as you can see, I started to reflux the mixture. The longer you reflux it for, the better, and I decided to do it for about 1 hour. If you want to do it for less time, I suggest adding more isopropyl alcohol to extract as much of the plasticizer as possible. Here you see it refluxing back into the flask. At this point, it is almost done, and it is currently refluxing around 5 more minutes. After this, you would want to remove all the vinyl glove pieces from the flask and clean the flask. I used a sturdy wire in order to get all the glove pieces out. If you do not remove it one time, the gloves will get really rigid and hard, and it will be a pain to remove after the reaction. I added back the solution from the extraction into the round bottom flask. I extracted the rest of the solution with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, and I added this to the flask. To this, I add 70 milliliters of concentrated sodium hydroxide solution in order to hydrolyze the phthalic acid ester. As you can see, it forms 2 distinctive layers. I set up the apparatus for reflux once again, and you need to reflux this for about 30 minutes to 1 hour in order to complete the reaction. To this, you must add boiling chips to prevent bumping, which is a real issue when you have 2 layers of liquid. Let this cool down for about 15 minutes to reach room temperature. Add this to a separating funnel for the 2 layers to separate back out. The bottom layer is the aqueous layer with the sodium phthalate, and the top layer is the layer containing the alcohols, which you can discard. Add the aqueous layer into a clean round bottom flask or any other flask. Because we added an excess of sodium hydroxide solution, this would most likely be a basic solution. As you can see, undisturbed, it has a pH of about 13, I would say. So this is using a universal indicator. To this you'd want to add sulfuric acid. This forms the phthalic acid. Add enough until the phthalic acid starts to precipitate out. As a substitute, you can also add the hydrochloric acid, which in most procedures I've seen used. As you can see, it's starting to precipitate out the phthalic acid. I've added this to a larger jar in order to easily separate the solid. And the pH of this is around 1 or 2. I let this cool down in order for the phthalic acid to settle down and precipitate. Finally, I decanted the solution off, but I actually needed to filter this. Because you need to filter it. I'm not sure if yours would be any better if you perform this, but the particles were really small and I had to filter it in order to get all of it out, or at least as much as I could. After you do this, after you filter the solution, you'd have the solid phthalic acid, which you need to dry out in the sun. And here is a small amount of phthalic acid I obtained in a clean test tube. I actually decided to distill a mixture of alcohols. So I would obtain the isopropyl alcohol, and there's a very small amount of 2-ethyl hexane. So this reaction, I actually just performed it in a very small scale, but you would need at least 15 gloves in order to get a substantial amount. But just for demonstration purposes, I performed it small scale. When you perform this, be careful with the acids you use and take precautions with the phthalic acid as well, even though it is not really toxic.